I will go ahead and get this meeting started. It's Tuesday, August 9th. Two Boards of Directors study session. Roll call, please.
Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer.
Here.
Vice President Mike Schaefer.
Here.
President Robert Uten.
Present.
Thank you.
Have we received any public comments?
No, Mr. President.
I think we have a public that will speak later, but. Okay, the next item is receive and file the 2022 Code Enforcement Officers Report. Scott, will you be doing that?
Thank you, Mr. President. Dave Griffin will be doing his report. He's doing it via Zoom. So
Oh, hi, David.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm here to present my Code Enforcement Officer report for the month of July. This report summarizes major points for 3 ordinance enforcement topics covering scavenging, graffiti, and trash container enforcement. For the month of July, the CMSD interim code enforcement officer focused his efforts on patrols in various parts of the community. The goal is to identify and deter instances of scavenging and residential trash carts left within public view. In the month of July, the district saw a number of complaints filed with the CMSD interim code enforcement staff regarding scavenging activity in the city. As with most scavenging complaints, the alleged violations take place in the early morning hours. In order to address resident concerns, the code enforcement officer is patrolling the streets by 6:30 a.m. In the month of July, I had 6 scavenging and I apologize, 5 investigations on scavenging, 1 on Orange, another on Eldon, Princeton, and Royal Palm. That's going to be behind Vice President Vic Schaefer's office. I have been increased patrols over there because of ongoing tips that have been given to the officer. And I did, speak to Vice President Schaefer earlier about it. It looks like a lot of these guys are congregating behind their buildings over there. But still, if I see them, I'm, letting them know on our ordinance of scavenging. And any questions on that part so far?
I have a quick question, David. On your back page, you list that you go on Mondays and Wednesdays. Do you ever go on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
On the back page is just listed on the days of contact. So Mondays and Wednesdays seem to be a more popular day. That's the only reason. I'm out every day of the week. But just seems like Monday and Wednesdays right now are really the problem days.
I have a question. David, you might think about checking on south of Fair Drive in College Park, because I've seen scavengers there. This woman goes around and she just, picks through the trash.
I will do that.
Okay.
David, a general question. How much time do you spend on scavenging versus the cart processes?
But usually I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just a general idea.
Just in the early morning is when I'm focusing more on in the areas of trash days to catch those active scavengers. Later in the afternoon is when I'll concentrate more on trash carts left within public view.
Oh, any wild ass guess as to how much time you spend on the 2 endeavors?
It's 2 different setups. So in the earlier mornings when everybody's trash carts are out, patrolling those areas multiple times, because I can drive past and maybe they come out from behind cars or something like that.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Strath, Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead with the cart processes.
Trash container enforcement. In the month of July, there were a few customer complaints reported to the district headquarters regarding trash carts in public view. The following a list of locations where trash cart violations were found and addressed by the courtesy notice process. There were 103 violation notices or warnings given out in the month of July, listed in the following streets and the number of carts on those streets. Any questions on that so far? That'll end the trash container enforcement. There were no cases of graffiti in the month of July. And again, on the last page, those are days of scavenging contacts, would have been 1 on Monday and 4 on Wednesdays.
Okay, thank you, David. Good report.
Thank you,
Go on to
sir.
the next- go on to the next item, report on the July 19th, 22 Emergency Operations Center tabletop exercise debrief.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as you're aware, staff are considered first responders in emergencies. And so it is good practice to have training exercises with staff on how we respond to emergencies. Also, we do have some new staff members that are not familiar with our emergency operations centers, or I'm not familiar with the standardized emergency management system, which is SIMS, which is the system that all local governments must practice in order to receive state fundings for a natural disaster or for disaster recovery. So on July 19th, we had our training exercise, which started out with an overview of SIMS and why SIMS was adopted and how it functions. Then we went over our emergency operations plan. Following it, after that, we went and toured the EOC, our Emergency Operations Center, because there are some staff members that are not familiar with how an EOC operates. And then we did a tabletop exercise, and attached to your staff report is that tabletop exercises, and basically it gives certain scenarios to staff, and then we kind of brainstorm on how do we respond to that situation. And so it's always a good learning exercise, because every time we do these tabletop exercises, we learn something new. As you see in your staff report, there's a bullet points of lessons learned and what we need to do to enhance our readiness and the way we respond to emergencies. But all in all, I thought it was a very good exercise. It's something I think we need to do on an annual basis, just to keep us ready for responding to emergencies. As you see in the staff report, the table exercise was to simulate a catastrophic earthquake, which everyone's saying it's gonna arrive one day. You know, we're due for one. So what would we do if Costa Mesa or this whole region for that matter, or Southern California is hit with a catastrophic earthquake? How do we respond, and what resources would we need? So that's why we do these tabletop exercises. It was very, very worthwhile. It was good to do, and happy to answer any questions you may have, but we'll continue doing this on a yearly basis.
Quick, just a follow-up. So you need to acquire a megaphone, cell phone chart. You don't have those already?
Correct.
And then battery lanterns. So you're going to acquire those,
Yes.
or have you done that already?
We're in the process of acquiring those right now, yes.
Sounds good. And then one last thing, you recommend the Citizens Advisory Committee to volunteer to the EOC. Does that mean on an emergency?
Yes, in emergency situations. The one drawback, I don't want to say drawback, the one challenging that I think we're going to have is that we have limited staff. And in the EOC, there's a lot of functions in the EOCs that will require staff to require multiple duties. That can be very stressful. So if people from the Citizens Advisory Committee could help relieve some of that duties, that would be very helpful. Obviously, we'd have to train them on SIMS and how the EOC works. But the first step really is there anyone in the EOC would be interested in volunteering? And if they are, then we can start training them on EOC operations. Because if let's say there's a catastrophic earthquake, we might have the EOC operating 24/7, right? And so we need people to be relieved. The CAC would be a good resource to help relieve staff when needed.
Do you have board members attending also?
We do anticipate. In fact, that was a discussion on our tabletop. What happens if the board members show up? What do we do? Primarily, the board members really is to help myself be the face of the public to make sure the public's calm or provide information. For instance, but we know like President Uten, who's an expert in the wastewater field, we probably would, ask for his assistance. He's got experience working at EOCs and working in wastewater, so he'd be very helpful. But anywhere else we could, if we need the board, we would ask for help. But most of the time, the elected officials are kind of out of the room, and so that the staff work the EOCs. But if we need you, we'd call you.
In scenario 2, you'd mentioned that Brett and Bob showed up. I don't know if you guys saw that. Are they like the two designated?
No, it was just a plan. Like, what happens if the board members that unexpectedly showed up? What do we do?
Is there a need for us to designate or to like an ad hoc selection or?
No, nothing like that. No.
I agree with you that elected officials tend to muddle things up, but one other thing
I
that
don't think he said that.
I didn't say muddled.
Scott
No,
didn't
I did not
say
say
it.
that. No, I did not say that.
I think you should speak for yourself.
my son, who's a police officer, has had to remove city council members in Irvine.
Yes,
We tend to want to do what's right.
yes.
I didn't mean that negative. The other thing I might suggest, and I don't know if you've thought about this, but the CERT program through the city, there may be, I would recommend we do some kind of cross training with them with our procedures. They're going to be busy with city functions or city problems, but having they have a ton of people involved in CERT that might want to be cross trained with us.
And that's a classic example. Maybe we can use CERT to help do some intelligence gathering for us, inspecting our assets and seeing if there's any sewers wastewater coming out of the manhole, or if our electrical panels are down, that would be a great resource.
And they're trained in traffic control, if I'm not mistaken. You're
Traffic
going to have
control,
some
medical
need for traffic
attention, all that stuff. Yes.
How would they know if the electrical panel's down?
Well, let's say if it was tipped over,
Oh.
it was tipped over, or maybe like say if a light pole fell on it, right? So it was damaged, if it was visual damage, they can report that to us. So we'd have to report that. We'd have to request that from the city. So, and that's why, the way the city's EOC is set up, it's the same way our EOC is set up. So we would contact like their planning intelligence team and say, hey, can we send a CERT team out to this neighborhood to inspect on the pump station and report back to us? And hopefully they can do that for us.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it is good.
Make sure you check with Bob on what flavor MREs you get, because I'm sure he'll have some particular.
Yeah. I was in charge of that system for Orange County Sand District, and one of the biggest opportunities I think the city can provide is in the communications processes, because they have people that do that every day. And I'm not sure we have anybody internally that can do that. And that's basically the interface with the media and or the citizens.
Well, the residents, their first point of contact is going to be the city anyway. Majority of people are going to call the city to report a problem.
Well, but enlisting the city's help and or understanding, what the city is, how the city is communicating or what they're communicating, and or to get them involved in our communication needs. Because they have people that do this for a living every day, and we don't have staff yet that I don't believe do that.
No, we don't. We don't have, you're right. A lot of cities will have a full-time emergency preparedness coordinator. It's something we would like to reach out to City of Costa Mesa. If they're having any kind of emergency preparedness training, please include us. We can send someone over to the EOC. We did that a few years back when Newport Beach was doing an exercise in their EOC, and they invited us over, and we actually sat and just watched, and just doing that, we learned a tremendous amount of information. So that's extremely helpful, just sitting there and watching how they operate.
And the police, once they get involved, they basically take over the command center. And the way they get involved would be if there's materials, there's questionable materials that come from some building that enters the system, but the fire department and the police department basically can take over the command center, in relatively few situations. But I think staff needs to be aware that they're higher up on the ladder than staff. And anyway,
Question is, where is the city's EOC
It's at the police station.
police station? Okay.
where is it?
The police station?
Which one? Oh, the one down in the Civic Center?
At City Hall.
Okay.
Mr. President, just a random quick question. In the middle of the night earthquake happens, what's the protocol, the scenario that plays out with our staff and EOC?
Scenarios, they would call immediately call the supervisor to see if they need to be reported into the EOC. If the cell phones are down, which most likely they will be, then they just report directly to HQ. If HQ is damaged and unoccupiable, then we go to the yard. And if that's not unoccupiable, then we go to the city hall.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Well,
Um,
part of the problem is if it's that severe an earthquake, some staff aren't going to be able to make it.
Oh, I was just going to say that we've always said on sanitary that we leave our family, leave everybody, come here to the where we report to, and then we see what's happened. Because sometimes you can't get here. We've gone through that drill years ago. But it is important that we know that we all have to come so that if there's a decision to make or something to do, we're here.
Yeah, I'm not sure I totally agree with that because I think the family will come first in the individual's eyes. And I think they need to report when they can. But if they're experiencing family problems, they're not going to show up. Anyway, another alternative, I think you do this once a year. I think one of the things that should be run through the EOC is, and it's maybe a simpler process, is what should happen if there's a major leak on the Eldon Force Main. That is going to be a potentially and a very severe response needs. Anyway.
Do you work with, her name just escaped me, Vicki Osborne?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Yeah, she at the last Waco meeting, she says she has gloves and masks for all the agencies. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah, we've got plenty of them right here.
Says she has lots to give out.
Yeah,
if you
yes, she
need 'em.
does.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, staff. Any other questions from the directors or input? Thank you. We'll go on to the 2022 missed car trash pickup for the first 6 months of the year.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So this was a request by the board to receive this data on a monthly basis. So this is the first report since the board made that request, and it's based on the first 6 months of 2022. And as you can see on the screen, it definitely fluctuates. Obviously, January was a bad way to start off the year. Then it started looking like getting a little better in February. Then all of a sudden it got up again in March, and it's just down in April, May, and then again it peaked up again in June, and now it's back down to 54, which I still think is too high, but that is better than June. The primary reason is still unit breakdowns. Even new units will break down here occasionally, and just not enough drivers to fill. So it's drivers on leave or truck breakdown seems to be the main cause for the missed pickups. So we will continue to provide this to the board at your monthly study session meetings so you can see the trend.
Director Echo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I mean, not doing the math, but on average, let's just call it for the first 6 months, missed pickups 50 across the board. And then obviously the big months. Any reason why January and June were almost identical at a huge spike?
I know Mike carries on the, maybe he can answer that better. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know.
I think if I had to guess, I would say January spike was because of Christmas trees. June, again, purely speculative on my part, but I think it may have been the COVID spike that we experienced at the beginning of that month.
Oh, with regards to drivers getting COVID?
Yes, correct.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir.
How does this compare to last year? So 540 for this, where were we at last year? Do we know approximately?
A second, I can pull it up.
Well, while you're looking for that, this is approximately 0.4% of the potential pickups. We have 22,000 plus trash customers. And they have 4 carts. So, I don't know how that factors in, 4 different carts. So sometimes they miss one cart or they miss the other cart. So, this is almost getting to be a minuscule percentage. And I'd be interested if anyone knows relative to other services, how this fits in.
Well, and I would be curious, because I've asked it before, pre-pandemic, it seemed like our missed pickups were next to nil.
Well, that might be.
So, and those were the previous answers. So that's why I'm just trying to compare year over year. Are we getting better? Are we staying the same? Are we getting worse? Trying to see what.
I'm trying to find out. My inclination, it's getting better. It's not nowhere near what it used to be, but it's still, in our opinion, still pretty high.
Right. So am I correct? A long time ago, it was answered pre-pandemic, the missed service or missed pickups were low, if at any.
Yeah, you got to also understand back in, we can say maybe 5 years ago, residents don't have the tools that they have now to log those complaints, right?
True.
So it's a lot easier now with our Gov outreach, which we recommend most people to do. So that's one issue. But yes, I think COVID is definitely an impact. What made the change as well. So I think is we get more trucks on more trucks and newer trucks in service, and hopefully the CNR can find more drivers. We'll see those numbers go down on a consistent basis.
Okay. And then just last question. We listened, David, in the enforcement of, trash cans being out on the street, public view. Do we have a way to make sure that we don't bother some resident who has some neighbor complain about their trash cart being out versus a missed pickup? Is there any way to correlate that and make sure we're not hammering on a neighbor who's already upset?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head, but we can look into that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I find it, and I know, I think one in particular, and I'm sure that means there's others. You guys missed my service and now you're yelling at me because my cart's out.
Yeah, that's not fair. I agree.
So
Sure.
I would like to just see that cleaned up. I don't know exactly how, but you guys are the experts. So thank you.
Any other directors' input on this item?
I just want one more. Mike, Kurt, I was just wondering, now, do you have over the 2 trucks now, or did you get another truck?
As of late last week, I know we had 2 of the brand new trucks out in service right now. We were waiting for safety features to be installed on the other 2 brand new trucks, and those were anticipated to be this week.
Okay.
So there should be 4 brand new trucks servicing residential Costa Mesa by the end of this
Great.
week.
Great, that's what I was wondering. And will it have signage on it too?
Yep. The 2 that are currently in place have the signage, and
I saw
the
that.
2 that we're waiting to get the safety features installed on already have the signage on it as well.
Great, good job.
Thank you.
Art, did you have a question?
No, I was just.
Oh, you're pointing at why I'm cold?
That's where you're cold.
Oh. Okay, any other input on this item? Well, if it's doable in the future, it'd be nice to know an expansion on Director Eccles' questions. You know, what was the particular process that caused the problem? Christmas trees, you know, that may only be a single year problem.
Right.
You know, and breakdowns and driver, you know, lack of personnel or whatever. If you could do some general breakdowns in that regard, I think it'd be enlightening.
One question, the follow up on that. Do we have a good game plan ready for the Christmas trees this year?
We said that last year.
Yeah. I mean, because the public needs to know they can't put them out after the certain date. That's our problem.
Yeah, but it really wasn't, it's just,
I mean, that's where you get a lot of the complaints because they haven't picked up their Christmas tree. Or it's too long, it's not cut up, or they have stuff on it.
yeah, I mean, in simple ways, yeah, if they can just cut the tree in half, and put it in the green waste container, that's fine, you know.
You know, they don't do that. That's the problem. And CRR doesn't pick it up.
It's amazing to drive down the street and see trees covered with plastic, trees with their metal stands still. And we just can't, I mean, right, Mike, you can't pick those up,
Correct. Yeah, those are unserviceable.
but then they're going to call in and complain and it's going to inflate our numbers on complaints. So there's a real edge in there, I think.
Well, you know, I have a box knife and a saw and I used them last year.
Just as a follow-up, I agree 100%. It's like, you guys follow the rules and but the problem is the majority of them follow the rules and they're not getting picked up. So like I could easily look someone in the face, go, dude, that's on you, but that one's not on you. So it's like, we do have to have.
That's the edge. I mean, there,
Yeah.
if I agree, I see the right ones. What's funny is people will put them, they don't put them in the street. They'll put them like up in their front yard or
Right.
something.
Mhm.
Come on.
Yeah, use common sense, but isn't always common, but
No problem.
you know, but yeah, we got to do better. It's like driving down a country that no one's ever seen before. You know, it's just like, come on, we got to do better. So, so I just asked Mike and staff, and let's you know, what are we in August? It's going to be here before we know it. So, any ideas and fresh things to fix it, or at least improve it drastically. Last year was better than the year before, so that was good, if I remember correctly, but it wasn't great. So,
Well, education wise, we do have things out across all of our social media platforms. We include information in our newsletter. We have it listed on our website. So we are educating. It's just a matter of either the trees getting collected or the residents not following procedures.
right.
So we're pretty detailed on what they need to do. Strip the tree. We've even tried to be catchy and say, we need a naked tree, you know, so we do try.
Oh, and I agree. The education part's fine. It's out there. And as Vice President Shaver said, I mean, common sense and all that, but we got to execute the plan. At the end of the day, it's got to get picked up. And so let's continue to work with CRR&R and get a execution plan.
I have
Thank
a
you.
comment.
Yeah.
I was thinking, is it possible to hire an outside vendor to pick up the trees that are, you know, that they drive through the city, or we get a call? And
Yeah, that's the plan. We're
Okay.
gonna have that discussion with CRNRs. And that's what we were telling them last year. Look, if you don't get these picked up, I'm gonna call someone to pick it up and I'm gonna bill you on it. And it's gonna probably have to do that again this year, but we're gonna have to have, what my suggestion is, we have a contract in place with that vendor.
Yeah.
And so if a tree was missed, I can call that vendor up, okay, here's the location, go pick it up, and then I bill CRNR for it.
are you working on a plan to do that now? Is that what
That's,
you're
well, I've got my direction from the board, but it's a good idea. We haven't started the planning yet, but I guess we're gonna start the planning now. So we meet with CNR on a monthly basis, so we'll have that discussion in our next operations meeting.
saying? Don't they give us like $10,000 a year for different educational things? Can we use part of that money to pay the outside vendor?
Oh,
No? So it's up to CRNR to do that?
The easiest thing to do for us is stop picking up Christmas trees and tell people to get rid of them themselves, which becomes a bigger issue. Or you go to a centralized drop-off place. You know what I mean? talk to the city and say, hey, there's a lot of alternatives. We offer a good service at a lot of cities and a lot of jurisdictions. I'm right. There's a lot of cities that don't pick up tree. You know, Mike, better than anybody.
Well, they try to get that included.
Yeah.
And again, it's becoming more and more challenging, especially with the facility shifting to food waste, green waste.
Right.
mix, and the costs are going up.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Or even drop off spot at Orange Coast College or something like that. Just a thought.
I have two thoughts.
Yeah, I don't believe many citizens have the ability to drag their Christmas tree around,
Mhm.
to a particular location, but,
Yeah, but they gotta pick it up when they buy it. They gotta get it to the.
oh, that's,
house,
well, yeah. But
They paid someone to pick it up for them.
Or it's on top of their
Yeah,
car.
I had two thoughts. One is that there's only a few of the Christmas tree lights, lots around. And I wondered if we had some kind of little thing that gave information at these Christmas tree lots,
Our flyer.
as they're buying it and
Right at Home
we're
Depot.
paying for it. Here's your information, just a thought. And then the other thought was, it's going out of my head. Oh, shoot. Yeah, and it was a good one too.
and it went away.
Oh, I have this papers for scavenger. I don't know how many of you have that still. It's like you can put it on your trash can. And that's a thought too. I have some, and I ran across it and thought, that's great. That'll ease them up some. Anyway.
Well, I think there's been a lot of discussion. Scott, you've used lessons learned summaries before. So
Oh,
have you, do you have a process where you've internally documented the lessons learned that need to be addressed? Or is it in the agenda report and I didn't notice it?
Well, we're talking about Christmas tree. I didn't write anything on the staff report on this, but it's basically what I mentioned just a few minutes ago is that lessons learned that we should probably have a secondary vendor available to pick up the trees.
Well, no, I'm talking about in general that, yeah, I agree with the Christmas trees.
it came to me what I was thinking of.
Okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, I was thinking that a liaison meeting that we have with the city and the water district and so on, school district, that maybe at this, we could bring this on the agenda so that they are aware of some of the things that were.
As you're talking about that, the water district, if we had a flyer that went out with the water district bills, like they do, we used to do that for the Lions Club stuff. That if they would do that for us, we would print them, hand them to them, and they would insert them into their bills. Just as a backup to the citizens. So everybody in the city's getting a water bill.
Oh, we've done that before. It's very effective.
Good idea. Let's go on to the next item. And that is receive and file composition study number 3. Mike, are you going to do that?
Yes, Mike Via is going to be giving this report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Morning, everybody. Michael Valier here, reporting on our second sort of this year. We did one in December of last year.
Third overall, second, yes.
Yep. So again, this sort was a mix of east and west side, Santa Isabel, West Wilson, a lot more multifamily properties. And it did reflect in the results that we saw. Again, what we're shooting for is a 200 to 250 pound random sample. We have the load dumped at CRNR Stanton. We set out cones. We use a little dice thing to randomly pick areas. And I think that the sample was representative of the load as a whole. Again, the categories that we sort into are trying to do double duty. First, we're seeing what are the actual prohibited container contaminants, which would be food waste and green waste in that trash container. We also look at cardboard and paper and beverage containers, the obvious recyclables that when and if you go to a 3-cart system, these should be coming out of the black container. And then that way we can see how much of of what's in there is likely to stay if you go to a 3-cart system. So again, the categories we look for is green waste, food waste, paper and cardboard together, recyclable containers, and then trash. And so anyways, on the trash side, this would be on page 2. It was just a little over half. Now, again, I include in trash plastic items number 3 and 7. Those tend to be lower value. And when recycling markets overseas are impacted, they tend to not be recycled. In good times, they are. And CRNR is pretty good at getting markets for those materials. But again, that's just my personal preference. PET and HDPE are much more valuable, and those will always have recycling markets, rain or shine. So again, at about 50%, we have a lot of materials that theoretically would go out of those containers if you go to a 3-cart system. As far as food waste, pretty good amount of the contamination, almost 18% of the load by our estimation, was food waste. Most of it was bagged. It looked like almost universally those folks are taking their kitchen trash and putting it in the trash, not into the green container. And it brings up some questions, because if you go to the next material, recyclables, that was a little heavier than our previous sort, but there was more glass, which of course is significantly heavier than PET bottles or aluminum cans. So there wasn't a larger volume of that material. But if you go to the next page, green waste was minuscule. That 4.48 pounds was little under 2% of the load. So the question becomes, how many of those multifamily properties are generating much green waste that goes into your container? Are they serviced by landscapers, and so that material doesn't come to you? Is that a deterrent? Do people not? Is it more difficult for people to put that food in a container by itself when there's not green waste there? This is the brave new world that you're responsible for figuring out and solving. But that would be one thing where perhaps working with CRNR, we could find out the dispersion of accounts between single family, duplex, triplex, fourplex, so we can start working that into our analysis. So anyways, paper and cardboard, close to 20%. That was about typical as well. So on this sort, the big change was more food waste in the trash and much less green waste. And, there's potentially a correlation to that. And with that, I will answer any questions anyone has.
Any of the directors have questions? I have a comment. If a third of the material you found was recyclable material, so hopefully the majority of that will go in the new bin. Does that mean the waste percentages that you've reported, well, those will be significantly higher? If a little bit of green waste, a little bit of food waste, or whatever those percentages were, and there they are. If you take 1/3 of the material out of that mixed waste cart, all of a sudden those percentages are going to go up.
Pretty dry.
If you find the
material.
same-
Yeah.
if
pretty
you
dry
find the same
material if you
stuff.
take it out. And again, most of that food waste was bagged. So again, I'm imagining everybody's kitchen waste is going in the trash. And so again, to sort it, CRNR does have markets for the 3 through 7. They do have markets for what the industry calls trail mix. It would be the residuals, the fines from the sorting operation. So they're able to hit a pretty good recycling number. But again, I'm trying to look at dispersion of carts and folks that potentially have 2 trash carts that now that they have a blue cart can they get rid of one trash cart and go to a recycling cart to replace it? So you're not increasing your carts on the street. So again, that's why I do that breakdown.
Well, not all multifamily homes that have the 2 to 3 yard bins even yet have the green bin.
Well, that we're seeing more on the city franchise side that those folks that
Yeah.
have been served. But again, I don't know on your distribution if everybody automatically gets that one green cart. You might have some areas that say, hey, we have no green waste here, so they don't have that option. Again, looking now at route breakdown and container breakdown, I think is a step with this route to see,
Yeah.
why so little green waste, why so much food waste in the trash.
And I think the multifamily is going to be the need for the most education because it's a transient population. They've not been subject to having a green bin and or whatever the recycle bin looks like, but they will.
And that's where, social media becomes a new tool because historically you send out education material, it goes to the property owner or the property manager and maybe doesn't work its way down to the individual tenants.
Okay. Any other director comments or input?
Just a quick, maybe a question, Mike. When you look at the total pounds are right there in the middle. I think as we work more towards 1383 and we work more and more towards the blue cart, and we've talked about this a number of times, cardboard is still going to be our biggest challenge. I mean, in one of your comments, you said that they try to get cardboard non-contaminated. How much that cardboard is non-contaminated? I mean, right now people are just, throwing it in there and it's going to get contaminated. As we start to reach out with our educational programs, cardboard to me seems, you mentioned what you thought was a pretty good job with green waste with this sort. Again, I think our residents are used to doing their mixed waste and their green. And to me, cardboard is still going to be our biggest, cardboard and paper, our biggest challenge.
Yeah, no, and again, it's going to, of course, be cleaner, easier to recycle because it's not going in a compactor, which when it compacts, it bursts bags open.
Yeah.
So you should see a higher recovery of the
Okay.
cardboard.
Oh, I'm going to ask Director Eccles' question because I think you said the vendors, is your vendor CRNR?
It is not, no. It's,
So have they put out both a green cart and a recyclable?
we have 3. So we have, the green, the blue, the black. Our biggest challenge, the cardboard is easy.
Yeah.
It's the food waste
Okay.
and bagging it. And then I'm HOA president of that, and I have to go yell at my neighbors for not picking up their food waste when the green bag rips, and inevitably it rips every single time.
Are they also putting them in Ziploc bags instead of?
That's what I've suggested, but that is our biggest challenge, and our current trash hauler is, they're tough to work with. We'll leave it at that. But our biggest challenge is food. The cardboard boxes, I think I brought up before. Again, I think all of us, when we were kids, we were taught how to break down boxes. I think that was like part of our education. Apparently not, because people still think they're just going to throw these big boxes and not break it down. It's like, that does kill me. And then it fills up our bin. Now, on an individual small bin, common sense, again, you're like, I have to break it down to fit. But you're right, it's going to be, the cardboard's going to be a challenge with Amazon and everything else.
Our place out in the desert, we have
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 big recycle ones. And when you open them up, I guarantee all 5 or 6 of them are full of cardboard boxes that are so easy just to,
Yep.
even though there's a sticker on the front of it that says, you must break down your cardboard boxes. So
Oh, yeah.
education.
Mr. President, Mr. Mosier has his hand raised.
Okay. Jim, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, President Uten. I apologize for not having a chance to come in person this morning. I do appreciate the opportunity to participate remotely. And I have several questions about this because I, as a Newport Beach resident, am already experiencing the CR&R 3-cart system that the district is considering. I was a little confused about the comment that the people on this route do not have green waste because very little of it was seen in the black-topped carts. Didn't the people on this route, that is, the characterization is only for what is in the black cart, as I understand it. Didn't the people on this route that was studied also have green carts? And so the fact that there's very little green waste in the black cart may just mean that they're doing a very good job of putting their green waste in the green top carts as they are supposed to. That's comment number one. Comment number two, I shared Director Mike Schaefer's interest in the question about contaminated cardboard. And it was not clear to me in this characterization how the contaminated paper and cardboard is being characterized. Are we developing separate numbers for the contaminated versus the uncontaminated so that we have a database, good information to know in the future if we're doing better on that with a 3-cart system than you're achieving currently with the 2-cart. The picture of the paper and cardboard it looked fairly clean what I saw there, and I don't know if the contaminated is going somewhere else. I don't know. And then as to the picture showing the trash landfill component, in the commentary that went with it, it said that part of what is in that pile is textiles and coated paper. And I want to at least let you know that when CR&R delivered blue-topped carts in Newport Beach, the lid instructs the residents to put in it metal, paper, plastic, glass, and textiles. I don't think many of them are going to know that coated paper is not a paper you're supposed to put in it, if that is true. And it's surprising here that textiles, and specifically it instructs people to put clothing and shoes, which I find rather strange, in the blue-topped container. So I don't know if that's intentional, if there's going to be a difference in the district from how it's being implemented in Newport Beach, or if it was incorrect to characterize textiles as something going to the landfill. And then the final comment I tried to make at your last meeting, I'm sorry if I'm running on a little too long here, but you have 3 characterizations now. The first one from December, you found 24% contamination. The last one from May, you found 14%, and then here from July, you found 20%. The numbers look different, but how significant the difference is between those is difficult to tell. And I, with a scientific background, am suggesting you might be able to do the characterization better. If you recall, before SB 1383, when Mike did characterizations for you, there was an effort to homogenize the trash, to mix it all together so that you got a good sample. Here, apparently the trash is just being spread out on the ground and you're picking 6 random points. You would know a lot more about what the result was if each of those 6 random points was separately characterized rather than lumping them all together, because you might find 30% contamination in one of them, you might find 0% in the other. It does not seem like a lot of extra effort. If you separately characterize the 6 different points, then you would have a good idea of how reliable the overall answer is when you add them together. So that is a suggestion, two suggestions about this. One, clearly distinguish contaminated from uncontaminated paper and cardboard, so the district will know if it's actually achieving an improvement by going to 3 carts, or if Newport Beach has. And number 2, separately sort those 6 things, not just lump them all together, so that you know how reliable the overall result is. So I went on much too long, but thank you for listening.
Mike, do you have all those questions in mind?
No, unfortunately, I turned 61 on Friday and I lost some of it. But no, those are good points. Again, on the green waste assumption, is that you've got 20% of the population that's not going to follow what you have them do. So in the other areas that also had green waste carts, there was just a noticeable amount of green waste in those loads that was missing from this load. So Mr. Schaefer's correct. It's possible that it's because those people are sorting the material out much better. Again, that's why I want to do a deeper dive with Mike and CRNR and see how many multifamily property, because the area, for example, we did last time was all single family homes. So again, I can't say definitively that the reason is the multifamily. It could be much better participation. And again, that would be something that I'm going to ask CRNR to get us the green waste figures for that same route and see if we can match that up to a per household figure on that stop. Again, the challenge is I think the trucks are breaking off at certain points in time when they're full. So it becomes kind of a tough calculation. So again, as far as the individual samples, each of those 6, we could certainly do that. The traditional way is to just randomly sample the entire load and then extrapolate that outwards. But I think, we could delve deeper into breaking out more material types. Again, this was my suggested first pass, but if you would like to see different set of data gathered, we could certainly do that. There is contaminated, very wet paper, small cardboard pieces mixed in with the trash. Again, we also keep out, like produce comes in cardboard boxes, but it's coated with wax. So same thing with coffee cups and picnic plates. They're coated with another material that makes them difficult or impossible to recycle. So that's material that we would put into the trash category, even though it's technically paper and plastic, it has another material type on it, or it's very heavily contaminated to where there's no way that would be recycled. So again, we could add a contaminated cardboard and a contaminated paper category. That might be a good step. What I was thinking is we could look at the overall recycling percentages that CRNR is giving and then compare it to the percentage of material to see, we're seeing 18% cardboard and paper. What's their recycling percentage? But yeah, no, I think, we've done 3 sorts now, so I'm definitely open to fine tuning, adding categories at your direction.
How many more studies are you planning on doing?
I think 2 more this year. It's a kind of a quarterly basis, but we had some delays and challenges getting this one done. So we actually had to move it to July 12th, but that's technically our second quarter. So we'll be doing another one here before September's over, and then one the last quarter of the year.
I look at these pictures and I'm grateful for what I do for a living. I mean, I'm sure it was 80 or 90 degrees while you were sorting. And
well, if we do an August sort, then yeah, that's typically the most fragrant, but July is a close second.
And we were talking about common sense earlier. If you look at the picture of the food waste, I guess because there was soy sauce in that container, it qualifies as food now, so.
Well, again, it's with the
You don't have to
the
explain. I'm just
packing.
being a smart aleck.
Yeah, some of the liquid is on the trash, so it's a balancing act.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we're in 3 sorts and we're gonna have a total of 5, if I heard correctly, for the year. So I would be curious, I know you kind of put together 2 and 3. I would love to see, I'm just an Excel spreadsheet guy, just a side by side of 1, 2, and 3 of these sorts of tables. And then obviously we add 4 and 5. I just like to see it all and see how different parts of the city and, I know I could probably ascertain it, but again, I'm all about simple reading for me
Yeah, no, I
sometimes.
do have a database file that we have a tab for each sort.
Okay,
And so, again, like I said, I think coordinating with CRNR to get some more route specific data of the breakdown and all of the areas. Again, we kind of present a highlight. It's generally this area of the city. If we had more data, we could include that on those tabs as well, and then do an overall comparison.
that would be awesome, perfect. And then Scott, I guess question for you, Mr. Mosher brought up, and I'm familiar with it, Newport with the signage on the green and blue. Is that something that we've been talking to CRR&R about to put on ours if we go forward with that?
Yes, definitely put signage on the lid. So I'll have that discussion with CNR regarding coated paper and textiles, because I know we've done in the past, we've done textile drop-off centers, where 'cause it is a concern there. We know the landfills do receive a lot of textiles, and that's an issue. But they can be easily donated to like the Goodwill or
Right.
Salvation Army, and so we encourage that. So I don't know why they would put that on their carts. So we'd have to have that discussion with them.
Yeah, and they definitely do. I just saw it and I was like, huh, that's interesting. So it is helpful with that signage and very specific. So hopefully they can do the same. All right, thank you.
Now, I was curious, Midway Sanitary District, do they have all their cans already?
I don't work for them, so I'm not.
Oh, so you
sure.
don't know. Okay. And the other question is, as far as what's going on with our status of getting that extra can. People are asking me because they go to other cities and they have them, CR&R has given it to them, and I don't know what to tell them.
Well, again, I think Scott can address the specifics. I know globally, it's really being pushed by the state because of all the extra sorting they would require of a hauler to have a high diversion rate facility, which would be what your mixed cart would have to prove that they're recovering 75% of the organic content. Again, it gets more difficult if paper and plastic are getting wet. Those are also considered organic wastes. And so those type of programs are going away. So how do you transition a cost structure, make sure residents are paying a very competitive rate? You're trying to address contamination issues, things like Christmas tree programs, things like that. It's a long negotiation process that the district's in. But I think ultimately you'll see 3-cart systems be pretty much standard. And I think that's the state's goal. The state's always like source separation better than MRF programs, in my opinion.
Yes, if I could add on to that. So the board has not approved the 3-cart system yet, but assuming the board does approve it here soon, the plan is to implement the blue cart system in July with the carts being delivered in June of next year.
Any other directors' input on this item? Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, did you answer all 3 of Jim's questions?
I think Jim had like 6 questions.
Yeah, 3, it was like 3 times
There's-
2.
I don't know.
There's another, Jim, let me know.
No, thank you. It was very thorough. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry about that. Go on to item let's see, we're headed towards item number 5, the fats, oil and grease enforcement program implementation plan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So on July 25th, the Board of Directors received and filed CMSD's fog control assessment, annual assessment report that was provided to you by Joe Jenkins from EEC Environmental. And in that report, he had several recommendations. The board directed staff to come back with an implementation plan on those recommendations. And that plan is presented to you in your staff report. So I am here to happy to answer any of your questions. I do want to inform you that this plan is timely because unfortunately, I'd like to mention to the board that we did have a sewer spill last night. It was on 19th Street in Pomona. It was caused by grease. So it was, it was a small spill, but we believe it's caused by the restaurants in that area. As you know, those are the restaurants, a lot of the mom and pop restaurants that were grandfathered in for when the fog control program was adopted. Grandfathered in meaning they didn't have to implement or acquire and install grease interceptors because they are quite expensive, around $20,000-$30,000. And the board realized that would be a financial hit on those establishments, so they were grandfathered in. However, the board did direct staff that if we're continually seeing sewer spills in this area from those facilities, then we could require them to have install a grease interceptor. I did instruct EEC Environmental to go pay a visit to those restaurants to inspect to make sure their best management practices are being implemented, and to again warn them that this is reoccurring. We could require them to install grease interceptors. So that's my presentation. This is the plan we're proposing to implement, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
You know specifically which restaurant it was?
No, I don't think we can. We're just gonna but we know which restaurants feed into that pipeline,
That's okay.
and so that's where we would hit them, all those restaurants.
Is that a hot spot?
Yes, it is.
So obviously, our crews are going to have to clean that or consider cleaning it more often.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at the data when's the last time it was cleaned. Maybe we have to increase the frequency. That's a possibility.
I mean, that's a substantially cheaper outcome for the residents and the restaurants than having them put a $20,000 thing in and multiple $20,000 grease interceptors. But, you know, one or the other potentially has to be considered as an alternative, but.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just trying to wrap my head around, we're being asked to comment on the plan, and I'm trying to understand what are we proposing different than what we're doing today in this report?
This report, these are the recommendations that were made by EEC. And so the board wants to make sure those recommendations are being implemented.
And that's the 10 recommendations?
Yes.
And the deadlines were based on their recommendations as well?
Those are staff's recommendations.
Staff's recommendations. Okay. So basically, you're looking for our input. Are those 10 appropriate? Do we need to add or delete?
Are you satisfied, or yes, are you satisfied with this plan? Is there something we're missing?
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Well, in conjunction with Director Eccles' question, those 10 are things that we already do. Are we doing them more quickly, or
Again, I don't think that we were doing them, otherwise it wouldn't be recommendations. So
Pardon?
I don't think we were doing these 10 items. We're not doing because they wouldn't have been recommendations in the plan.
Oh,
So the recommendations say, here's a recommendation we're doing to enhance your program. And so that's what we're implementing is their recommendation.
so none of those 10 EEC presently does. Is that what you're saying? I thought you answered Director Eccles' question that all of them were being done.
that's what I understood too.
Not all of them are being done. For example, I would say number 8's not being done.
Yeah.
I would say like half of them aren't being done, half aren't, because I know they do follow up inspections that when they did not adhere to the best management practices or they did not adhere to maintaining their grease removal devices, they will do follow up inspections that they do. But there are, like I said,
Yeah.
We don't do increase, they don't do increased public awareness on residential units contributing to fog. They don't do that.
Well, no, they don't, or we don't. Anyway, that's the question, is the breakout of what is,
Yeah, as a follow, I would like to know what it is specifically we're doing today and what they're recommending that we're not doing currently. So I
Yeah.
could look at this and go, oh, okay. Because they all in general look okay, but I'd like a little bit more detail.
well, yeah, I think that's my question also. So if, if you could take that into consideration, that is how you implement. If they're presently already doing something, then maybe we need to pay them more to do it more often. Or is it staff that needs to do this, or is it EEC that needs to do this? Anyway, a little more definition might.
And just tagging on that, yeah, I would like to see, I see deadlines, but the frequency. Okay, well, or complete follow-up inspections on FSCs, blah, blah, blah. How often? Or what are we, I mean, schedule follow-up? I just want to know, is it once a quarter, once a month, once a week? What are we? And then the last meeting we had, I think they did talk a little bit about that. So I think that information's out there. Maybe we could just see it again.
Anyway, just a little, I think it's a good start, and maybe just a little more definition.
Question about, have we discussed this with EEC? Yet? These
Yes.
items? Yes. Okay.
Okay, if there are no further director's comments, I think we can go on to item number 6, which I think consider adopting resolution. Is this something that we have to vote on today?
Yes.
I'll move adoption of the resolution to continue resolution 2022.
I'll second.
970, authorizing remote meetings.
I'll second.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? So go on to item number
I got a
7.
quick question. Do we have to do this for this meeting?
Yeah, this is going to be standard now. So we're going to be adopting the resolutions at the study sessions and in the board meetings.
It's
To ensure the 30 days period.
it's because the resolution, state resolution said 30 days. And so when there's 31 days.
Okay, because we do the
One or
one
the
for
other
the board
doesn't
meetings
usually
already.
fit.
That was my question. We do
This was
want
this was Alan's recommendation to do one in the study session and one in the board meeting.
smart. Yeah.
Okay, item number 7, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to give this staff report over to Nalani Minway, who will be giving this report.
Good morning again, Mr. President, members of the board. It's my pleasure to present some of our education material that we've created with Tripepi Smith in regards to SB 1383. The board was interested in seeing some of our samples, and with us today online is also our partners from Tripepi Smith. I have Jen and Molly. So if you have any questions of them, feel free to let me know. As you know, we began our new contract for focusing on 1383 with Tripepi Smith on July 1st. So this is just the beginning of August. So the first month was very heavy in the discussions and the planning of what's to come. They are helping us with creating and updating our website, which I'll show you some of the content that's on there, our social media support, designing of our materials, things like our flyers, our door hangers, our bill inserts for the water bill. So they will help us create content for that as well. And creation of our video media. I was just made aware that they have created the initial video script for some of our 1383 related material. Let's see, and also partnering with us in community events and staff workshops. So before you is one of the first social media posts that we have created. It's regards to kitchen pail use, and the caption beneath it, if you've had a chance to read that, it's just educating our public on how to better utilize their organics cart or their kitchen pail to empty out their organics into the organics cart.
I have a question on this.
Yes.
It says from counter to compost, and we don't use a compost facility. We use an anaerobic digester. So I think this is probably the mainstay for 60 to 70% of the cities that don't have access to the anaerobic digester, but I don't think this is, the word compost is to me is inappropriate in this particular slide, but
We
I
can
don't-
definitely change
well,
that.
you know, I don't know quite how to change it, but, and the verbiage, I would like to make some input on that.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to do it now, but
We can talk about it offline if you like.
if you would, please. I just think it's some simple additions. I like the idea that we don't have the kitchen pail prominently displayed here, that we have a Tupperware, but I think the word Tupperware, I think we're trying to get to a something that's that has a lid that fits. And those could also be, in my case, deli containers, but so,
I think the idea behind this particular post was to allow residents to use something that they had on hand, not necessarily a kitchen pail. So
Yeah.
other alternatives. So we use things like Tupperware, other container with a lid. We give them some instruction on how to better utilize a brown paper bag. So just some other ways to keep it out of the waste stream.
yeah. No, I'd like to comment a little bit offline on that.
Sure.
You know, otherwise I think, you know, well, the word compost just doesn't fit our processes.
Can change
Just
that.
to shoot a bullet, I'd be careful using the word Tupperware. I mean,
Yeah.
They might come back at you and say, we don't want our product associated with scrap food.
Uh,
You know what I mean?
Well, not, yeah,
Well
not
noted.
Tupperware, but a liddable,
Plastic
you know, a liddable deli container or whatever, but.
Just as I'm reading, just one thing, line your pail with newspaper, blah, blah, or compostable bag. I agreed with the other directors on that. But that gets me a little confused. And if it gets me confused, it means it's gonna get people, because I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed always. So I set the bar low. If they're reading, they're gonna say, well, okay, cool, I'll just line it with brown paper bag and then I'll dump it, not using the approved baggies is the way I read it.
You can use a brown paper bag in the compost, in the organics card. So
Right.
those are permissible.
And so, okay, something doesn't read right.
Some bags aren't compostable, some
Right.
aren't, right? That's why we specify newspaper or brown bags or compostable bags. All of those are able to go into your organics cart.
Well, are those for the kitchen pail Tupperware deli container, or are they for the
Yes,
trash can?
we suggested as using a liner for whatever it is that you're throwing your organics into. That way, if you don't want to necessarily dirty your container, it's at least a holding area that you could take that whole thing and just throw it right into your organics cart, because all of those materials are compostable.
Well, a better, you know, in my case, a better way to say that is if need be. Because I don't ever, well.
These were
I don't
just
ever use
suggested
any of
tips.
any of those steps because I don't have liquid or sloppy waste. I should go to everyone's house and eat their leftovers.
Funny. You didn't see it, so don't bring it up.
Okay. I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Hey, comedic relief at these things, you're doing great.
Thanks for the tip on baking soda. I didn't know that.
There you go. Just little tips. So
If need be.
yes, as applicable, right? So
Yeah.
for every resident, it's going to be different, but these are just tips that anyone could use if they saw the need to do that. Our next post has tips on utilizing your groceries well, keeping your food well used and out of the landfill. So we provide some tips there. And then once the board does make a decision and give us the go ahead, Trip Ivy Smith and staff are already preparing some materials in the background that we can release immediately to the public on the 3-card system.
On that one,
Yes.
just to help, I think on the recycling one, you really need to up the blue. on the-
Yes. Yes, it might not come through very well here, but
Yeah, you can
yes,
see the blue there, but it looks pretty close to the land. I mean,
right,
that's gonna be visual. I think people will identify with it's
absolutely.
really blue.
Yes, so we are going to rely on CRNR to get us some very clear images of exactly what our carts are going to look like. This is just a sample rendering of what we intend to do.
Well,
The way, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Brett had mentioned something about stickers on the cart. You don't have an organics cart like the rest of us do.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, they do.
We
You have the
do.
individual ones?
Well, it's dumpster.
You have a
but
dumpster.
Yeah, right.
On our end, I don't know if you've ever seen the individual ones.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
There are stickers on there that are pretty good, I think.
And okay, because I compared to Newport Beach and my mom's house, like it is. I was like, whoa, that looks sharp. And I've seen the ones in Newport, whatever they did there was a little bit different. Yeah.
Well, Nalani,
Yes.
earlier somewhere in one of the presentations, we showed the two-cart, what our present two-cart
Correct.
system is. So we're sending out education material that will soon be
3-cart related.
probably not applicable.
Right. So right now, we're just continuing to encourage what is currently in place so that there's no confusion. All of this material related to the 3-cart system is going to be forthcoming. So once the board gives us the go-ahead, we will then start transitioning into planting seeds about the 3-cart system. And I'll show you some of that data here.
Yeah.
So this is some of the material that we're continuing to provide on the organics recycling program.
Oh, well, that's it. Is that in an earlier presentation?
Yes, yes. So it identifies what items are able to go into the organics cart. It's not going to be any different from what we are currently doing,
Yes.
right?
Well, that's what caught my eye is
Yes.
so we're educating people on the present system.
Yes. So this is our present system. This is what we're sharing with folks now on the 2-cart recycling system, giving them an idea of what can be collected, some of our programs.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, but I think here is where we also need to tell them or begin to educate them that the 3rd cart is coming.
We do have that.
Right here.
Yep. Hang on.
Huh? Is it? Well, is that in the same presentation?
It's in a separate one.
Yeah.
It's in a separate one. So that's the information that we currently have out there on the 2-cart system. All of the things related to 3-cart, we don't want to release yet until we know for sure that that's what the board is directing us to do. So we have information prepared to share about the 3-cart system. We're letting people know that it's going to be coming out July of next year. And in some of our material, this is on our website. So we have a webpage specifically dedicated to 1383, what's to be expected, what 1383 is, organic recycling, and then we start talking about the 3-cart system. So this is preparing the public to anticipate this is the transition, the change that's going to be coming.
Okay.
What it means to the public, starting this month, that CRNR is going to be conducting cart audits. So we're informing folks that if they see CRNR coming around and that they're auditing carts, this is the reason why.
Do they audit the carts from the street?
Yes. They won't go to your backyard.
No, because people have more than one and only put one out, but they have them in the garage.
They'll only audit what is available on the street. Yes. And then we start giving information about how to use the 3-cart system. So informing them about the black container, the blue and the green. So that's all available on our website. I do want to share, and this is going to be a shameless plug for an event that we're having next month, where 1383 is going to be focused. We are going to have our very first Eco Expo held here at headquarters. Typically, this was part of our Citizens Environmental Protection Academy. Part of the academy was scheduling tours for our other partnering agencies, including tours at the landfill, going to OCSD. Unfortunately, tours have ceased because of COVID. So we wanted to try and find another way to keep things interactive, but also have an opportunity to share our information on organics recycling. I'm going to blow this up so you can see it. I do want to thank Gina for creating this lovely layout. This is our boardroom. So the way that we were able to identify some of the areas of interest here was that Angela had sent out a poll across our social media asking what folks are interested in learning about. These were the highlighted topics of what was of interest. So we are going to have information on kitchen pails, kitchen pail use, organic recycling. We are going to have information on the 3-card system, provide sustainable products, information on fog and odors and roaches, our sewer inspection rebate program. And we're also going to invite the city of Costa Mesa to partner with us and OCC so that they can be responsive to their constituents as well for our multifamily folks.
Say that again. City of Costa Mesa.
City of Costa Mesa and OCC,
Yeah, they're gonna have a booth.
they're going to have a table here.
I
Yes.
would like to see the word kitchen pails expanded to the alternative devices.
Well, we're going to be providing kitchen pails here,
I know,
so
but yeah.
we can definitely share
Well, I
information
hear
on
you, I hear
alternative.
you. Okay.
Do you have a date yet?
Yes, so this will be on September 28th. It is a
Okay.
Wednesday evening. We also polled folks on when they would like to attend an event like this.
Yeah.
The large majority of them wanted it on a Wednesday night. I think it's probably because folks have sports on the weekends.
Yeah.
So families who want to bring their school age children can participate, come right after school, come and do this thing and go on home.
Is that the fourth Wednesday of the month?
I believe so, yes.
That's when the Orange County Sand District has their board meeting, but then that only affects me and or Art, but so I would, at what time is it? Oh,
It's from
oh,
3
3 to
from 3 to
7. So, yeah,
7.
That covers.
We
some
just-
early.
Did you reach out to the chamber at all to invite or maybe have them help promote this as well to the business
We
community?
definitely will.
Yeah, because I spoke with them and this is exactly what they're looking for their members.
Perfect. We're also going to have a couple of interactive stations outdoors. One of them that has been very popular at the events that we've attended is our terranium and our siphon demos, where folks can build their own little sewer system and see how the water flows. So because it's water related, we're going to have it outdoors.
Go back to that again. If you could, go back to that picture.
So off to the left of the parking lot where the boardroom doors are, so out that way, that's where the training will be set up. We have our check-in and checkout tables. We're also going to include a table for our CAC members, for folks who are interested in joining the CAC or want to learn more about being on the CAC. We thought that that would be a great opportunity. So these are our tables. These are the items that are going to be discussed at each table. If you have any questions on those, please let me know. Any suggestions, we're totally open to it. We are going to be pushing, advertising the event. We're hoping that this is going to be very well attended. And this will be the first. And depending on how this goes, then we'll start reaching out to our other partnering agencies to see if they'd like to participate also.
Are you going to video this process?
That's a good question. I guess we could live stream it.
No,
if you
no,
wanted
I
to.
mean, this is a lot of information that you'll get a certain percentage of the community to come in and see and understand. But what I'd like to do is find a way to get this out to the general public through our other social media processes.
Sure.
This is a big, a huge effort.
It's a large effort and I think it should be well attended.
I have a question about
Well, you can't get 22,000 people in here.
No.
who's going to lead the discussion at each table.
Each table. So we do have staff at each table. I did not include outside here, but we have staff.
Okay, so
Yep.
they're all going to be ready to.
There will be at least 2 members of staff per table discussing each of the items here. And these are the giveaways that we'll be giving away at each of these stations. So think of it more like a college fair or a benefits fair. You go from table to table. We are going to include a punch card so that as you go from table to table, in order for you to receive our very nice giveaways, you have to sit through the promo like a timeshare, right? Just sit through the promo, get the freebie, and get your punch card stamped. When you exit, we'll be able to capture the individual's name and their email address. We will then add that to our database. So any information coming out from the city, we'll be able to include that and send that out to them also.
It's a huge effort. I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
The word fat trapper is an interesting one on there.
You know,
You
we-
might get some interesting comments on that.
okay. We like the catchy phrases.
Oh,
Keep
you
it
know,
to
that's next
yourself.
month, right? Are we advertising
I-
already?
People show up, weight loss.
No, the one I like was, how does the toilet work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
See, so I'm glad that you're kind of raising an eyebrow and questioning that and excited about it.
This is great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great idea.
It's the first time that we've done something like this, so we could definitely use the board's help in spreading the word. Have your neighbors come and attend. We'd love to see everyone come out. So again, that's September 24th from 3 to 7. It's a Wednesday evening. 24?
Can you send
Sorry,
us,
28.
can you send us the flyer promo info so
Absolutely.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, because we could take it to the Lions Club meetings,
Yes.
let those people know they can distribute it.
Oh, we'd be grateful for that.
I'd also like to be the staff person that is at the kitchen food collection devices table.
So he can show his Chinese takeout container.
Yeah, but you have to stay till 7 though, Bob.
You gotta stay here till 7.
Well, my intern would be well-versed in my thoughts by the time I leave. Anyway.
Do you have any other questions or comments? Any questions for our friends over at Tri-Pepe Smith? I do see Mr. Mosher's hand raised.
Well, only thing, my comment is, I get hung up on just advertising the kitchen pails. What we are interested in is getting the food waste collected, and we give out kitchen pails. But I think on that table, we should have, the alternatives that have begun to be discussed.
Oh, sure.
And some of the other things. Anyway.
Thank you.
Are the directors done discussing this?
I think
item?
Mr. Mosher wants to say something.
I know, but are the directors
Yeah, I
done?
think
Okay, Mr. Moser.
Thank you again, President Uten. Regarding catchy phrases and the original, I think it was social media promotion that was branded as counter to compost. I also was wondering why the word compost was appearing there. But when I thought about it more, I don't think that that is actually misleading, because although the food waste does go to the anaerobic digester in Paris, is the ultimate product of the anaerobic digester, as I understand it, is compost and renewable natural gas. So I guess to be completely accurate, it would say counter to compost and renewable natural gas, but I'm not sure that that is misleading, especially since the district just had a compost giveaway. And the more general comment, which relates to what you just said, is however many people these social media, website campaigns, and the in-person event attract, it's going to be a very small part of the district's ratepayer base. And so specifically in connection with the coming 3-cart system, beneficial as these things may be, I think people are going to go mostly by what they see on the lids of the carts. And I have some concern that going to a 3-cart system can actually be counterproductive, because we have been told in Newport Beach that with the new 3-cart system, what we put in the black top cart is no longer going to be sorted in any way. It is going absolutely directly to the landfill. And so to have anything recycled, it has to now go in the blue topped cart. And there is great confusion, at least on my part, as to what should go in those blue topped carts. And I actually just went outside to look again at what the blue top cart that is delivered in Newport Beach says on it. In big letters, it says paper, glass, cans, plastic, and textiles. Paper has a picture of a cardboard box next to it. And under that, under paper, it says cardboard. The average person is going to think only cardboard is going to go in there. So if they have tons of paper and magazines, whatever, I believe those are supposed to go in there, but they're likely to put it in the black cart and it would go to the landfill, which is not right. Under glass, it says bottles and jars, which I guess is explanatory. Under cans, it says aluminum and tin. So if people have if they're throwing out an old iron pipe, is that not recyclable? I thought there were a lot of metals that are recyclable other than that. Those are all going to go in the black cart and go directly to the landfill. Under plastic, it just says bottles and jars. Other kinds of plastic that might be recyclable, I think are going to go in the black cart. And then again, there's this confusion. Our blue lids say textiles and tell people to put clothing and shoes in that. But many things that I think could be recycled are going to go into the black cart because the label seems to be very restrictive as to what is supposed to go in the blue cart. And as in the case of Newport Beach is contradicted if you go to the website and then see a much longer list of stuff you're going to go in there. I think you have an immense educational problem that this is partially addressing. How you address it, I don't know. But there is a risk that a 3-cart system can actually be worse than a 2-cart one. That is my comment. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jim. Do the directors have any more questions on item number 7? Thank you,
Yeah.
staff. I think, I think this is a great opportunity. We'll go on to item D, oral communications and directors' comments.
Oh, I had one. Did everybody receive something about the assignment reminders? In other words, like you have sexual harassment down at the desert and you can go to that and get credit for it. But do you have to sign up right now?
No, you just attend the session.
But you don't have to sign up right now?
No.
Okay. Okay.
You let us know what is due.
Yes,
Some of them are 2-year programs, aren't they?
I believe everyone's due in September.
For both sexual harassment? Okay, I didn't know that because I already kind of looked at what I was going to
I
do.
believe so. I'll double check. I think you did yours more
I
recently.
was concerned because they said they can only take so many people. And then it closes and I thought,
We just
you
get
know,
first in line. Be there first.
Well, those sessions are never, they're in rooms that can accommodate everyone that needs, in my experience, but
mhm,
They have a lot more breakout sessions, I
Yeah,
thought, than
yeah.
normal, so that's going to be.
true,
okay.
true. Okay. Okay, I was just curious on that one. And then the city is having something, a statement, you know, the city will be doing the, and I wondered if we should all RSVP through you.
What is it?
You Talk about City of Costa Mesa.
I didn't bring it, did I? No, I didn't
Are
bring
you
it.
talking about the mayor's luncheon?
Yes, it's the statement of the,
State of the city.
yeah.
The
there
city?
you go.
oh, okay.
I just wondered if
No
it
one-
wasn't.
Because didn't we do that last year?
Yes, they do it every year.
Yeah.
So,
When is that, do you know?
but
I don't have the information, but I can find it. And if you do want to attend, let me know and I can have you registered.
okay,
Okay,
I want
Just
to
let me know-
go.
I just need to know when. That's my.
yeah,
problem.
just
When
send
and
that,
what
no,
time.
Lonnie, send a notice when it is and
Why don't you just put me down, then I'll know. Good.
oh, any other directors' comments or oral communications?
It's September 23rd at 11 a.m.
Hmm.
The mayor, the state of the city.
Day of the week is that?
September 23rd.
Yep.
Shoot.
Wednesday, probably.
Friday, the 23rd, 11 to 1:30.
Okay,
Okay.
that's okay.
No other comments, and
Anyone else interested in registering?
I'll have to check. my
I'll
schedule.
probably go, but
Check, because I got school stuff too.
okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
No.
Mm.